Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Kim here. Now, isn't this a lovely mess? Okay, so here's what's going down. I finished my Thrifty Canucks video, and I was just waiting for it to upload. And I had watched the other day, and I've been invited to participate in the Facebook group Cara, Brandon, and Friends. She's got a month-long challenge, a weekly challenge, to create using forgotten friends. So forgotten friends is anything that's been in the cupboard or, set aside, or you've forgotten, you don't use anymore. And to create and clean it up, or, get rid of it, I guess, if you don't use it. So, I don't get to participate very often in challenges and events, but this one intrigued me partly because the same day I watched her introduction video and learned what the whole challenge was about. I went downstairs into the studio to get a piece of paper, and this bag fell out. And this bag I've probably had for at least 10 years. It is all handmade papers in shades of brown and cream colors with this gold, and there is some coppers, and there's some beautiful sparkly stuff, and it's been sitting in the drawer and in the cupboard. And I have a lot of handmade paper, but this was just the one package that fell out at me. And so I did retrieve what I wanted, but then I thought, you know what? She's right. We got to use this stuff up. And I know I've got a lot of stuff, and I tend to hoard things that I like, and I am trying to use up as much as possible. And my motto has been use it or lose it. So I figured, okay, I've done my video for the day. It's a stormy, cloudy, snowy day outside. I'm not going anywhere. And I figured, you know what? I'm going to take the afternoon off, and I'm going to use this up. So I have this package. It's one of those 1 pound packages that you would, they came really packed, and there's probably 3/4 of a package here. And I don't just have one, I have several colors, but this is one of my favorite colors, and this is the one that fell out of the cupboard. So she had suggested, paper was the main challenge for this week, and each week she'll have a different challenge of items to use in your collection. And on her desk, she had an assortment of stamps, and punches, and she was going to punch out some different pieces and stuff. And I thought, that's a great idea. If I'm not using this paper as it is, why not cut it up, punch it out? And I've got all these punches that, again, are sitting there doing nothing in a drawer. So I've gathered some different ones up, several floral ones, because these are little tiny flowers. And I'll punch one out here just to show you. Now, I don't want to bore you completely with all of this stuff, but there we go. So these are just tiny little flowers that you can, stack together with a brad, or, some glitter gems or something to make little clustery flowers. I've got 2 circle punches here. One is it's a 1 inch, and like that's always good for a base for stuff. So I figured, if there's some leftover bits, I would cut some 1 inch ones. And then I've got a 3/4 one, and that will easily where'd that piece go? That will easily cut out nice policy envelope circles. So that's what I'll use that one for. And, yeah, I've got several flowers that would cluster together very nicely. I've got a butterfly, a larger butterfly. I've got other sizes too, but not all of my punches will go through this. It's a little bit heavier weight of handmade paper. But I figured, well, I'll just sit and make, oh, it's still in, that's where it went, still in the punch. I'll sit and make some of these into shapes. And then I thought some of these smaller pieces, because there's quite a few of them, and they won't make the larger pieces. I thought maybe I'll tear them in preparation for doing clusters. And the reason I'm saying that is I've got I've got that book I'm working on that is using this fabric, and it seems to go very nicely with this collection here. And I do have lots of extra, and this is what I'm covering my book in. So I thought maybe I could incorporate that into clusters. And then something else I have is I have this very glittery scarf. So I was planning to use the edges of the scarf. I hope you can see how pretty and glittery it is. It's a very light mesh in black, but it has all these sparkly floral clusters in here. And then it has this trim that goes up both sides of it. It also has a fringe at the bottom. So I'll probably cut maybe a 6-inch piece off the bottom to save for other projects. But then I thought, you know what, maybe I could use this in the to make some clusters, because again, I like to see it gone, and you know, once I cut into something, I want it done. I don't want to keep it for too long. I don't mind keeping the trim. I'll wrap the trim around a card and keep that separately, but all of the bits and pieces, I like to see it gone as quickly as possible. So I'm going to see how I can incorporate all of that with this scarf and with this fabric. But I will pause the video and I will chop all this up, whatever way I chop it up, and then I'll come back and show you what I've done, and then see how far I can get on to the next stage of using it for clusters or whatever with that scarf. So I'm just going to pause the video. To you, I'll be back in a couple of seconds, but to me, I'm sure it's going to be a couple hours. See you in a bit. Okay, I'm back. First thing I thought I should do is show you, I've kind of sorted them out into small, medium, and large pieces. Not quite finished, but I just thought I would show you how much there really is here. There's a lot. I'm crazy. But yeah, so these are smaller pieces here. I think they're too hard to put in the cutters, and I mean I could use my Sizzix machine and some thin dies and stuff to cut this, but I think what I'll do is I'm going to tear these up for clusters, and the rest of this is what I'm going to punch with these punches, because that was the whole point, was to stay focused and stay using this little bit of materials that I have here with all the other punches. So that is what I'm going to use. So I already know these are going to be clusters. I will tear them up a little bit more and punch these out. So I will be back when I've got everything punched out, I think. Ta-da! Just like that. So here we are. I have either cut or made a decision on all of these pieces. By the time I cut all of the small ones, the small paper pieces, I realized that the larger ones that were 5-inch by 5-inch approximately, I wasn't going to cut through all those. So I've decided I cut them down to 2.5 by 5-inch, and these are going to be for tags. They're nice on the other side. I just have to either cut the corners or add a tab on top, and they are done. So this is going into my tag pile for tags. I'll probably do some clustery type things on the top with some fabric and glittery stuff and beads. But yeah, they're done. This one was very hard to cut out, but you know, the results are beautiful. But it didn't like handmade paper, the punch that I was using. So it's I only cut out a handful of them, but I will cut them out of other paper because I do like this punch. So just not handmade paper, because it just seems to chew it up in that particular punch. This one was good, but out of my pieces, I didn't have enough pieces that were big enough to cut this size, and I wasn't going to start cutting from the big sheets anymore. I was pretty much done by the time I got to these. This was the next size, the butterfly, and it cut pretty good through most of them. I did have some trouble with some of the thicker handmade paper, so I just did the best I could, but I got quite a stack of these butterflies. So these now I think will go into doing some cluster stuff that I've got planned. This was a horrible one to cut out. It's a scalloped edge, but I think it's because it's handmade paper and there's, there's so many little edges to go around. I realize this is not my favorite punch, and I have the exact same one in that hand punch that I showed you once before. So I think those are both going to be going into some Happy Mail. They're okay to cut, but just I don't think it's the style I like, and it's not that great. I've got Sizzix dies that would cut better than this. The little round circles. Yeah, those punches did not like the handmade paper. That was this one here, the whale tail ones. They did not like the circle punches at all. Same with this smaller butterfly that comes two together. The punch did not like the smaller butterfly, but the larger one was fine. These little ones were pretty easy to cut. That was using this one, but again, it was, hard on the hands, and it was putsky to cut all these little ones out. But I did have some brads, a little package of brads, so I've actually started poking holes in them and putting them together. Some of them I even put with a little piece of cheesecloth. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's, I'll try and grab another one. It was just sitting on the table, so I used it in the background. So the brad is at the back, and I can poke it open to put it through something, or bend it open to put it through something and then reclose it. But I probably have about 30 or 40 of those done. And so I said, okay, well, whenever I run out of these little brads that were handy, that's it. I do have more of those little brads, but I'm not doing any more. That's plenty for me for right now. But I have lots of little pieces yet. And I also did a couple of little hearts. I had a little heart punch handy, so I added those to the mix. So this is just small stuff that I will do later as I need it, or, one day when I'm bored, if that ever happens. Or maybe it'll go in Happy Mail one day, little packages of those. This one I think was my favorite to cut out. Oh, I already put the punch away. It's a punch like this, with the handle, this type of handle. And it was the easiest. It didn't mind any of the paper. I think because the design is so simple, it worked very nicely. So I think I will get a lot of use out of these. But as you can see, I have a mountain here. There's probably at least 100, if not more, of these. So that's all my different cuts. And then I had these smaller pieces that were mostly really thicker pieces that I'm keeping for doing clusters. So I'm going to keep the clusters and the butterflies and these large flowers for now. And I'm going to continue and make some fancy clusters with them. But the rest of this I'm going to get off my table, including that piece of scrap. And I'll come back when I have a chance to set up and work with these 3 items. So I'll be right back. And I'm back. Okay, so I cleared off my desk and I put all the other pieces away in a container here. So they'll be handy for me to use and embellish projects with. So I still have this large flower on my desk. I have the flower that I had so many of. And then I have some butterflies too. I still have the clusters on my desk, but I think they're going to wait and for another project, only because I'm getting tired. It's getting late and I have to go make supper. But I started putting some of these together. Now, in this scarf is a larger floral cluster. It's just gorgeous, gorgeous. So I think I will cut those out and save them for when I'm doing some slow stitching or making some snippet rolls or something more substantial, because they're so beautiful and I want them to really stand out on a project. So I've already cut quite a little pile of them up here. And every other spot has this smaller, sort of a flourish type of cluster. It's just a cluster of about, I hope you can see that, it's about maybe 5 or 6 sequins, you know, and then the threads to go with it. And then there's one of these. So I'm just going to cut that one out. No rhyme or reason. I'm just cutting around it, and then I will trim it down a little bit more later. So that will go into my applique pile. But then this little smaller sequin cluster is what I've been cutting out and using with the flowers, and they're turning out so cute. So I kind of just trimmed around it a little bit so there's not so much netting, just a little bit. And in between the large flower and this smaller little sequin flower, there's lots of this kind of flourishy pieces where it's just a little bit of, I don't know, let me see if oh, here, I've got a piece of paper. Here's one. So there's the smaller cluster, just a circle of sequins. And then these are just like little, you know, viney type pieces with sequins on them. And then there's the big applique. So the bigger applique I'm going to keep for other projects. But then I took a large flower, like that one, and I just put a piece of this that doesn't have any cluster on it. And then I'm taking a smaller, let's take one that's lighter here, a smaller piece. Now I want those sequins to show, so I don't care if it's off center on the flower. And I just added the other flower on, so if you can see the sequins around it, I hope you can see. It's getting late, so I'm losing a lot of my light here. And then that little clustery thing is what I'm putting in the center of the small flower, and using my stapler upside down so that the staple goes into the center of the flower. And so the flat part of the staple is on the back. I just made this tiny little cluster, and it is so cute. It's so stinking cute. So as you can see on the table here, I've made many already. And I'm going to continue to make them off camera, but this is, I'm calling this video finished now. So I probably will make about maybe 2 dozen of them just to use up this little piece of scarf that I cut off. I'll use up whatever is here. So it'll probably end up being about 2 dozen. If I think of it in the next video, I'll show you them. Some of them are really colorful because there's a little bit more glitter and sequins in them. And I'm going to leave them like this, and I may, because I stapled them in the center with the prongs up, I may put another gem or something in the center when I go to use them, or some beads or some type of clustery, glittery finish to them. I could also take some glitter and dip the edges of the petals in glitter just to enhance it even further. But I don't want to do this now until I'm actually going to use them on a project. But they are very, very cute. And so just to give you an idea, if I just took a plain tag, this one's just one of those tags that I cut up and added a couple of these flowers on. Again, I hope you can get an idea of it. And then just a little bit of a fringe on the bottom, cut into a tag shape and tucked in. They're very flat, so they would look nice. Now, this is probably not the best way to show it because it's so busy just by itself, but something like this on a tag, and then corners cut or a tab put at the top, and then just used as a tag within a book. This would also be really cute to make embellishments on the pages themselves, or, you know, as a cluster of 3 or 4 of them on the outside of a book or on a pocket. They would also be great for doing you know, the hidden paper clips, or there's a lot of little things that you could do. You could even dangle these, because in this case the paper is strong enough that I could punch a hole in the bottom flower and dangle it from a bulb pin on the end of the book. Or they could be tabs. They would glue very nice onto the side of a page and make a tab. So lots of options there. So that's my video. That's my forgotten friends. I used my old punches, and I used up that, well, I didn't use the whole bag, but eventually this will be all used up because now it will have a different place where it will actually get used. What did I learn from this? I prefer my Sizzix machine for die cutting than doing these by hand because my hands are killing me. So that's one thing. I wouldn't want to do lots of them. The other thing I learned is that I don't want to keep a lot of the punches. I think I have dies that would do exactly the same job much faster and much easier, but I will be selective. I really love this flower. I think that one I will keep. And this one, I'm just not going to punch 100 at a time. And the other thing I learned is when you're using these dies, they're great, but keep the side of your hands out from the die, like when you're punching, because it hurts unbelievable when you pinch your fingers on the side of this die. So I think the correct way is to actually put it back on the table and punch down with your palms out of the way. But I was punching this way so I could see the color and make sure I had lined up the paper nicely. So I kept getting the side of my palm here caught in the machine, but after 2 or 3 times you learn, right? But it hurts. But yeah, so I've learned where not to have the sides of my hands. And that's it for today. But I want to thank Cara Brandon from her Facebook page is Cara Brandon and Friends for this opportunity. I know that there's going to be more. It's for the whole month of February, so it's either 4 or 5 weeks. I'm not sure. So I don't know what the next project will be, but I think she's announcing it on Saturday or Sunday. So I'm going to be up for the challenge and try to do it again, squeeze it in somewhere again, because it was a lot of fun and I saw the progress, and it also took me away from doing some other stuff. So some of these I will get to use in my journals that I'm working on right now, the hardcover journals. So I'm happy about that. And Cara, thank you so much for the opportunity to have this challenge and for your hard work and dedication to us in your group. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to working with you on more of these and on our next weeks coming up. So thank you again. Thank you, everyone. I wish you all a very creative weekend as we go into the weekend, and a creative week, and get something made and something new and something different. Bye for now.